In this pod, we dive into more league-wide discussion because I'm not worried about the game on the weekend.
Gets there, knocks it down to the front. He gets it back. Goldie. Some poetry in slow motion from Goldie to Lucky. Don't you want to be him? He's got 9.
Welcome back to Further North, everybody. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a different episode. We recorded with Alex from They Might Become Giants. That is coming up in a second. But the reason I'm putting this bit before now, our conversation dissolved into a bigger conversation around the draft, how teams rebuild, free agency, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to do my normal bit here. There's a little bit of a preview through it, and the start is a preview. We go on a tangent, and then at the end, we talk about all the past players and all that sort of stuff and who's played between the Giants and that sort of stuff. There was 3. I only thought there were 2, and one blew my mind. I forgot about. So that will all come up in a second. But yeah, it's a different type of episode, so I just thought I would announce that off the bat. It's actually a really great discussion about all those sort of things. I lay some points on the table from a North Melbourne point of view, trying to defend us a little bit for the Richmond trade and how it's taken so long for us to build back up, and why I think systemically that is happening in the AFL a lot to a lot of teams, which I think a lot of people don't think about. So that conversation is with Alex next. It does go for a little bit. It is worth a listen. Let me know down below if you enjoyed that conversation as well, because I really liked it. And yeah, I'm going to make some points from a biased North perspective. Of course I am, but it's good to get his opinion as well as a Giants fan, but also someone who follows the draft a lot. So that is more of that conversation because this game's not that interesting this week personally. I'm really just hanging out for that Tigers game to see if we can get the win and then shut the door on the season. And then we can start next year's sort of chat. But anyway, that is coming up. Subscribe if you are new here. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. It would help me so much. It's the best way to support the channel. Hit that button, hit the like button, and leave a comment down below about any of your thoughts on this podcast, because it's the best way to support the show and it's free. I'm not asking you to do anything with money, which is very, very nice. So let's get into everything here. Live team reaction straight away. Then we got some news to talk about. There's lots of news buzzing around. We are getting into off-season stuff already, but live team reaction first. I have not looked at this team yet. I want Matt Whitlock in. I feel like it won't happen because I think they'll pick Finbar, but I think Whitlock should get the shot over Finbar. But I'm pretty sure they'll pick Finbar in for Larkey. I know they said he's a test, but I don't think there's a chance he plays. I really hope he's okay for the Richmond game. I'm not on the train of putting him on ice. I think that game does matter for us. Just a confidence boost at the end of the year. I mean, look, we all thought that Gold Coast game mattered at the end for confidence, so we've got to have the same attitude towards this Richmond one as well. Who else? I mean, Sherry's going to come in. Does Teakle go out? I would prefer Teakle probably play over Finbar as well. I'm not crazy on Finbar. I apologize, everybody. Let me know what you think about Finbar. Has he got the talent that we need in that position? Because I think Teakle would offer a little bit more, and I also think Whitlock should get the chance over everybody because he's the most talented out of the lot. I don't know. I'd keep Teakle in if Whitlock doesn't come in and play him forward and gives Jerry a bit of a chop out. Curtis is going to be out. I think Jordie Payne will debut. I mean, 10 goals in 2 weeks. And all the buzz has been he will debut. Larkey being out as well. I mean, I don't know. Do you bring in Finbar and Sherry? Because that's what I feel like will happen. I feel like Finbar is going to play, even though that will make me a little bit flat. Anyway, there's lots of things to come. I don't really know. It's going to be a squad as well, so it's not really that exciting. Let's debate it. Let's get into it. 3, 2, 1, bang. Okay. Our bench is out too, with ribs. Oh, Cooper Trembath. Okay, no Whitlock straight off the top. That is disappointing to me. Yeah, God. Anyway, I don't know what this guy, I just think he's so talented, and that's the player we need up there. Anyway, whatever. Finbar in, no shock there. Flat because Whitlock should get that chance, but hey, Sherry in, Scott, Payne, Phillips, Finbar, and Cooper Trembath. Curtis, Larkey, Banch out. So, Curtis out, obviously, with the suspension. Larkey with the knee, and Banch hurt his ribs in that game as well. Who's going to come in? I mean, you can nearly absolutely lock Sherry in for Larkey. I think they'll play Payne this week, surely. I feel like Payne for Curtis, Sherry for Larkey. I mean, I don't know. Banch, Scott, Phillips, no. I think the midfield looked way more balanced. I mean, give Cooper Trembath a crack. who cares? I mean, yeah, look, if Finbar plays, I'll be excited. I do like Finbar. I just don't know if I'd prefer him over those other guys I talked about. So, yeah, I don't know. Has anyone been named on the ground? Let's have a look at this. Common Pink, Daniel, Logo, Solomon, McKetcher. Doesn't look like it. Jerry's been named on the ground. Okay, so that's definitely happening. That's no surprise, though. And then everyone else is on their bench. So, yeah, if I was going to make the changes, I mean, Sherry Falaki, Curtis, I would give Geordie Payne the go. And Banch, for my excitement levels, give me Cooper Tremba. That would be unbelievable. I mean, he jumped on the pod and had a chat to me, and he's an awesome bloke. So it'd be really, really cool. Maybe we can get him on after his first game. I'll ask the question there. But that's who maybe I would change. The Giants have Toby Green in and some other players I don't really know. Jesse Hogan is out as well. I mean, I don't think it'll make much of a difference. They've got so many key position players. Bunking for this one to be another bad one, ladies and gentlemen. This could be a mega belting, but I don't really think it matters that much if, hopefully we can go down to Tassie with Larky back and Curtis back and go and get that win. But yeah, the Giants team looks very, very strong. I know they got embarrassed against the Dogs not that long ago, but I mean, like Lee Gallier and Sam Taylor, Lockie Whitfield, Lockie Aish, I mean, Himmelberg, geez, the defense is pretty good. I mean, Riccardi, Cadman up there, I mean, Stringer's there, Toby Green's back, Finn Callahan in the middle, Tom Green, yeah, it's terrifying. So I do think we get touched up here in this one. I don't think it makes much of a difference to where we're headed. So let's please, can we not overreact if that happens? Let's see what happens in that Richmond game. And I think that does matter. If you don't think it matters, whatever, but then don't complain if they lose. I do think that matters for our confidence for our season. And I don't know, a little bit of a morale boost for everyone. And if we play good football, it's something we can build off. So that really means something to me. Should anyone else have been dropped? I mean, Griffin Logue, yeah, continues to get a game. I think it's mainly because we don't have any smaller defenders and he can sort of play in between a little bit. Zane Dersma is named on half forward, but I know that doesn't really matter that much. Whatever. Maybe. And Constanti as well is probably the other one for me. I liked what Constanti brought, but I think he's had too many weeks without a goal. And with Payne coming in, I thought maybe that would be a little bit more obvious to see what happens there. Other than that, I mean, everyone can stay in. I think we played pretty well last week. Obviously didn't quite get it, but the umpires did everything they could to make sure we did not win that game. All right, yeah. I'm not too keen for this game, guys, to be honest. Get this over with and get me down to Tassie. I'll be down in Tassie as well for that game. So let's go to some news and things like that. One thing I'm going to ask you guys, do you want live streams? Because I've been looking at how to live stream recently. I think I'm thinking about doing some like post-game live streams just for instant reactions and to be able to get you guys to click a link and try and come on the podcast so we can have a chat for 5 minutes or so, and then we can get through maybe 10, 15 people. Like Blue Abroad does with their fan cams, I'm thinking about doing something similar for North games. It would be basically within half an hour of the final siren of away games and games I don't attend, we could jump on a live straight away. You can get instant reactions and get your thoughts read out. And it's almost more about your opinions, and I'll just guide the conversation and we can go back and forth a bit. If you guys would like live streams and if you would tune in for something like that or want to be a part of that, let me know in the comments below because if you want it, I'll do it. Have we got anything else? Oh, yeah, the trade news. Silvani and Starcevic. Apparently, Tom Morris broke. North Melbourne have asked the question about Silvani. I bet we did ask the question. I don't think it's going to happen. I'd like Silvani, don't get me wrong. Yeah, for sure. But I don't think that's very realistic. Starcevic, I obviously would not say no. Beggars can't be choosers. Let me have a look here. What age he is? Brandon Starcevic. How old is he? He's 26. Oh, okay. Why would he move to North Melbourne? Okay. I mean, look, if we got any of those guys, that's fantastic business, but I just don't see it. Why would Starcevic want to leave the Lions? That doesn't make much sense at all. Let's have a look at Silvani. How old is Silvani? 27. Yeah. Look, if we got any of those over the line, that would be incredible business for North. And I would say yes to both of them. We need to bolster that defense. And they're still in their primes, those players. What would you, I mean, they're not coming to North Melbourne, let's be real. I don't think they would, but hey, let's see how it all develops. Would you guys take those guys? Would you have Silvani? Would you have Starcevic as well? I'd be shocked if anyone said no to those guys, but where would they play as well? Starcevic obviously has a more obvious role. But Silvani, where do you think he would play, to be honest? Because how tall? He's a key position. He's 6'4", 194 centimetre. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why he would go. I mean, Collingwood's in the ring for him, right? So he'd take half the amount of money to go to Collingwood and not come to North. So anyway, I'm not too hopeful on those ones. Let me know what you guys think below. Would you like those things? Okay, that's enough for me. Let's tip and get out of here. Really, really quick tip so this podcast doesn't go too long. Hawthorn, Collingwood. I mean, look, Hawthorn have come out of the blocks. It's currently 12-0, 2-0 over the Pies. Hawks always start a bit hot, then they fade. I'm going to tip the Pies in this one. I think I would love the Hawks to be basically knocked out of finals. It would be hilarious. So please, Collingwood, everyone doesn't like you. Do this one thing for us and knock those cocky Hawks out of the finals. It would be fantastic. Geelong, Essendon, it's clearly Geelong. Richmond, St Kilda, please, St Kilda, do a job here. I mean, if Richmond win this week, it makes that game next week for me completely null and void. It makes me kind of not want to go to it, to be fair. But anyway, give me the Saints. Give me the Saints. Richmond, even though it feels like they've done very well for what we thought they would do, but realistically, they've got belted majority of the time this season or scraped a win. So I'll go the Saints. Brisbane, Sydney. I don't think this is that straightforward for Brisbane, to be honest with you. It is up there, though, so obviously I'm going to go Brisbane. But I don't know. The Swans kind of just hang about, don't they? They hang about. Gold Coast, Carlton. I mean, Adam, one of the blokes that I work with at work, is going for Carlton in this game. He thinks Carlton are a sneaky chance at Marvel over the Gold Coast. I'm not going to second that. I think the Gold Coast will win this. Port Freo, gross game of football. Freo probably win that one, even though it's in Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide are pathetic and have not got enough scrutiny for how bad their year has been. I mean, Giants North. Giants will win that pretty comfortably. Melbourne Dogs be the same. Dogs will win. West Coast Adelaide, oh my God. Another percentage boost for the Crows. The last thing I might touch on here really quickly, I made the reel and a TikTok about Paul Curtis and Tom Stewart. Now, I wasn't comparing those two together. It went viral. It went absolutely viral. Between both platforms, it's nearly got 200,000 views, and I did not expect that at all. It's so funny when something goes viral like that. There's like 500 comments on them, and most of them are telling me I'm a complete idiot and know nothing about football. So that's been a very interesting week for me. It's interesting as well. The video goes for like a minute, and nobody understands the context of it. So half the comments are like saying, "Oh, Curtis deserved it, mate." And then I said that Curtis probably did at the start of the video, even though I think it's probably a fine. But the Tom Stewart thing is so careless and reckless, and that should absolutely be weeks. And everyone's saying it's a football act. Well, so is Paul Curtis's tackle. So what's the difference between that? I know the guy got knocked out, but then LDU got knocked out against the Dogs, and the bloke who knocked him out didn't get a suspension either. So I'm confused. It's interesting to me that you can jump into someone's face and not get suspended, but he does play for the Cats, so that usually means they're immune to everything. Anyway, if you haven't seen that video, go and defend me in the comments a little bit, guys. It would help me a lot. I'm getting messages from people, from 14-year-olds telling me some awful things, to be honest. And I know that's how the internet goes, but oh my God, I did not expect that video to go quite as viral as it did. Maybe I'll try and make more. Anyway, enjoy the interview with Alex. Enjoy the discussion. Let me know what you guys think of the discussion we have down below. And yeah, I think I make a few good points. I think I become a little bit of a North homer sometimes, trying to defend things a little bit more than I normally would. But we're North fans here. That's what we do. Enjoy the interview, guys. Alex is a great dude. Awesome to chat. And yeah, a little bit of Giants preview. And then we get into the real nuts and bolts of the AFL. Enjoy the interview. I will chat to you guys after the Giants game. Welcome back to Further North, everybody. Massive game against the Giants. A giant game, some would say, up there in Canberra. Giant crowd will be there as well. All the North fans, I'm sure, trekking up. But hey, the biggest Giants fan I know Alex. Welcome back on the pod, mate. We had you on last year. This might be, and I feel like we haven't played for nearly 2 years because that was at the start of, last season, and now we're at the end of this season. It's, it feels like we haven't played you guys for a long, long time.
Yeah, it has been a minute, hasn't it? I tune in every now and again when good things happen with North, and sometimes I keep clear when devastating things happen. So no, it'll be good. After last week our capitulation against the Bulldogs, there were for a minute some nerves about this game, but I'm going to be heading to Canberra to watch. In the cold, schlep my way to Canberra, which should be good fun, and hopefully it's a good game.
And how's the pod going? They might become giants. Is it cruising along and doing well?
Yeah, the pod's in ripping form. We're having a great time. We do these amazing watch parties out in Western Sydney at the Guildford Hotel. Awesome. For every away game. We get a great crowd of 80 to 100
beautiful
people at those, and it's building a nice little community out there. It's for a plastic club, we're building a fair bit of culture. So it's good fun, man. It's good fun. And Brandon, my NRL mate, who's a convert across to the Giants, he's all in. So we've notched up another one.
Yeah, beautiful. A plastic club, interesting. I don't feel like that about the Giants at all. I think the Gold Coast definitely is, but that's because you've actually had some success and had some players that people care about, and then the Suns are just kind of there on the Gold Coast, and it's a bit gross.
I think finals helps. I think we got called the plastics for a long time, mostly by Western Bulldogs fans, to be fair, but yeah, it is. I mean, that's when kind of cultures and identities get formed, really, isn't it? In finals and these big games leading up to them. So we've played a lot of finals. We've played more finals than the Fremantle Dockers in their history. So
is that true?
I believe that's true.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and we've won more as well. So it's yeah, I know that's a hell of a stat.
Yeah, no, that's blown my mind, mate. I was sitting here listening to you talk about finals. I was getting a little bit upset, and going to come back with it must be nice, mate. Let's settle down. It's hurt my feelings a bit, and then that's just perked me straight back up. So I appreciate that stat. That's very funny.
What was it? It was first year was 16, then we were 17, 18, 19, out for 20, in for 21. And then Kingsley 22, 23, 24. So look, we play finals and usually we win one. Last year, not so much, but it's look, as I said, the identity has been formed. I think if you were a supporter of any of the other sort of 17 teams, you would have an idea when someone said that we're playing the Giants, you would know exactly what type of game it's going to be, what you're coming up against, and the identity. And clearly the culture at the club is good enough that we've turned around some like secondhand players. I mean, those are the really exciting stories, right? Like, turning Hogan into, recreating that career, being the only option for him. And then this year, it's been really fascinating with the kind of Stringer turnaround and seeing what he's becoming for us up forward.
What have you thought of Stringer? I haven't seen heaps of the Giants, and I haven't heard much about Stringer, to be honest. Have you been happy? What's he sort of produced? He was injured for the first part of the year, wasn't he?
Yeah, came out of the box pretty well, and it wasn't doing heaps of damage. Probably just figuring out the game plan a little bit. Then he did a hammy, then he did another hammy, and we started to go like, okay, look, we gave up pick 54 or something. It wasn't a big risk for the upside. Nothing big, well, for North Melbourne and the Giants, maybe. But
we're at different ends of the ladder, mate. I think I don't know if that works, but hey.
But yeah, in the last sort of, it's basically since the bye, and when Hogan's out, he came back. He had 3 games where he kicked three or four, a game, and he's really starting to look exciting. Like that game against Sydney, over a week ago now, he was just electric. You can't tackle him. He's so strong through the hips, and what I've been impressed with is like the way he's just sharing the ball around. He's like team first. Bombers fans listening to this are probably ripping their hair out.
I'm sure there's heaps of Bombers fans listening to this one, mate.
Yeah, you never know.
If you're a Bombers fan listening, please comment below and say something to make me believe you're a Bombers fan. I'd be interested to see if there's even one listening to this, especially a North Melbourne podcast.
No, but it's great having someone like that who's relatively cheap as far as draft capital and as far as salary, you'd imagine, kind of showing something. And I think he's the kind of player that could win you a final.
He's a match winner, isn't he? Yeah.
Totally. So the more of those guys you've got in your team, the better. I also think it's good having a guy who's like used to being the number one banana, and then he comes to a team where he's probably the fourth best forward, maybe. So I'm excited for the game coming up in Canberra. It's always nervy around this time of year, man. Like you don't want to drop one.
Don't start doing this. This is what I had a guest for the Geelong game, Anna, and she started to tell me that I'm a bit nervous about this one, and look, I think it'll be maybe 4 goals or something like that, and I'm thinking, I know you love your team, and I know it's nerve-wracking, but come on, I love where we're going. I'm a positive North fan. I'm on the train of we're getting better, and we're going to make a jump in the next couple of years. But mate, you're not going to lose to us up there. There's just no way on planet Earth that happens. And I would love to be the North fan that sits there and goes, you never know. You do know. Like, we're not going to win up. If we win up there, that is a genuine, probably the biggest miracle to ever happen in the AFL, I would say. What do you think about that? Let's talk about that then. Like, are you really nervous, or do you just don't want to be the team that loses to North?
I don't want to be the team that drops out of this finals race. Is ultimately what it is. We've got 3 games left. We've got you guys. We've got the Suns up there, which is a tough one. The only problem is it's you guys in Canberra, right? And we're just not very good there.
We're not good anywhere.
That's a good point. And then we've got St Kilda at the end at home, which I'm more confident about. But yeah, I'm pretty confident we'll go in and win. I think Buckley and Kelly out last week, and then Hogan likely. I think he's a test at the moment, but likely out. Similar to Larkey maybe. But I think we've got the young talent and the structure there to win now that we've got Taylor back and our mids will want to respond after last week. I mean, we got destroyed by 88 points. So it wasn't it wasn't a nothing game. It was a bit of an embarrassment. So I'm hoping for a turnaround. To be honest with you, I'm hoping we kind of do that to you guys. And I know that's not what you want to hear.
Well, it's very, very possible, mate. Like you touched on, I think Larky's going to be out there saying he's a test, and you never know. I would probably play him against Richmond. I think we need to win that one for some respect, and just so the numbers look a little bit better. I think it'll give us a good boost at the end of the year. I think that stuff does matter. Yeah. So I would love Larky to play that game, and then you can put him on ice for the Crows one in the last round and the Giants one this week. I think that's what I would personally do. I know a lot of people are saying don't play him at all, but if we don't win the Tigers one, it'll be a proper meltdown, and it's going to be us being very depressed until March next year, to be honest. So we really need to win that one, and if Larky's a test now, that means hopefully he's available for the weekend after. Get him through that game, and then you can have the rest of the time off, big fella. And Paul Curtis being out.
That's a big one. That's actually a massive one.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been quite as good since the start of the year when he originally got suspended. I guess sort of threw him off his mojo. Did you see what Paul Curtis did? Do you have an opinion on the suspension there?
Who'd you guys play last week?
Saints.
Nah. I didn't watch it.
Didn't watch it? Yeah.
I'm watching about 2 games a week at the moment, and there's usually about 2 games at the moment that seem to have ramifications for the finals race. But I have dropped off.
St Kilda North wasn't going to move that dial for you then, was it?
No, it didn't really do it for me, to be honest with you.
No, it was a close game though.
Yeah, I mean, I follow the 2 teams that I kind of follow after the Giants, as far as just like I keep tabs on them, are St Kilda and the Dockers. So, but no, I wasn't expecting another NAS miracle. I don't think you needed it, to be honest. So, yeah. How are you feeling about North this year? And I'm sure your listeners already know, but I don't. Are you excited for the draft, this week draft that's coming up?
Well, we don't have our first pick anyway.
You're going to take it. Oh, that's fuck me.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
excuse my French. That's right.
Yeah, I'll give
damn.
you a little rundown on this, right? Like, I'm feeling positive about North. I mean, is it exactly where I wanted us to be? Probably not. I probably wanted an extra win or two minimum this season, but I've seen us in enough games to know that we're moving in the right direction. I mean, we've been smashed maybe 3 times this year, in my opinion, against the Cats, against the Hawks, and then against Carlton on Good Friday.
Yeah.
We've had some other ones that have blown out late, but that's against very good teams when we're right in the game at 3/4 time. And I think that's a massive improvement. It's not an improvement that's going to impress anybody outside of North fans and the media and that sort of stuff. But from what I've seen this year to last year, we're just competing a lot more. There's a structure coming together where our younger players and our bottom half of the 22 players are actually playing pretty well. I would say the bigger problem we've had is LDUs and Sheezels and Larkies haven't maybe fired as much as they did last year.
Yeah.
So once they fire on top of the guys like Toby Pink or Dylan Stevens and guys like that who have been proper contributors, Riley Hardiman's breaking into the side, and there's players there that are have made the floor rise for us. I still think we're on the right trajectory, as much as a lot of fans want to throw the toys out of the pram at the moment. As for the draft, I'm genuinely not too fussed about it. I'm kind of over just getting another 18-year-old that is going to take 5 years to develop. I kind of would rather use our picks on getting some experience in the door that's going to help us move up the ladder, because I think we've got enough young talent on that list. I mean, against the Cats, we had, I believe there was 12 players under 50 games. I don't know if that's correct or not, but it was something around, it was a lot of players under 50 games.
A lot. Yeah.
Which is so many. So we've clearly got the young talent there. And what people don't look at in that trade is what we got for that trade, where we traded our first pick as well, which I'm sure no one could really name.
Yeah, it was no, I can.
Okay.
We live did this. But it was that basically it was ended up being that that one of the twins, right? It was the
Matt
sort of
Whitlock.
lesser Matt Whitlock. That's right. There was Matt and Jack, right? Is that right?
Jack Whitlock. I think it's Matt and Jack. Yeah.
And Jack was sort of rated as the higher prospect initially.
Yeah.
And then you guys came in and traded that future first for, and you got a couple of picks back as well, right?
We did. Well, we got Richmond's second rounder. So it's, which is a very high pick as well, because that's pick 20 or 21 at the moment.
Yeah.
So we'll have pick 20 and 21. But I think we could easily trade that up to a team with an academy or a father-son to move into the first round anyway, because they just want to get rid of their top 10 picks, like the Gold Coast. They want to get rid of all their picks so they can just get points.
Oh, there'll be a race for that Gold Coast pick, my friend.
That's fine. But yeah, but even if we move, there's so many of them. There's 3 from the Gold Coast. There's 2 from Sydney, all in the top 8.
Yep,
there's heaps. It's riddled with it. So it's the most compromised and the weakest draft ever. And I'm not trying to convince anyone that North made a great trade, but when people look at it, they go, pick 27. You traded for pick 27, what's going to be like pick 3 or 4 or whatever. That's ridiculous. It was like, there's more context than that, because that pick's going to drop down a lot. And it's also an incredibly weak draft. And we also drafted a player, a 200 centimeter key position player that's looking pretty good in the 2s, with an extra year of development, compared to what we would if we drafted him the year later, who's going to be ready to come into the team earlier. So I understand that when you look at the raw numbers of it, it doesn't look great. But also pick 27, you take away the 11 father, sons and academies in the first round of that, and it's pick 26 or 16. Sorry, my bad.
Sure,
so and we had him ranked on our draft board at 12 to 15, I believe. That's what came out after the draft. So did we get pick 27? Technically, yes. But did we get a pick that we valued, 12 to 15? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if he wins a Coleman in 7 years' time, no one's going to go, oh, you know what? All that bullying we gave you, North, sorry about that. And if Richmond draft the next Richard Tambling, then who knows? Numbers-wise, it's crazy.
I think there's some creative accounting going on, which I respect.
Potentially.
And I like it, and and it is best case scenario, what you're talking about there. At the time, I couldn't fathom it. But I see what you're saying. Getting that extra year into that player. I mean, and I think as well, you guys have been copped it all year about, not drafting key position players, at the right times. And, I think there was that people going like, why didn't they take Cadman? It's like, well, you
Well,
weren't
we
going
traded
to.
the pick,
You
though.
couldn't go
That's
to.
there's so much context around that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
That's
so-
what people don't see, right? Is the context. It's like
100%.
And yeah, look, maybe I'm trying to stretch a few things to make it sound like a better trade. I understand that, but we still got a player in a position we need desperately.
100%.
Have a whole year in the VFL, and he's looking pretty good. He's kicking kicked 4 goals in the first time he played forward. Kicked another 2 the week after, and I think he's a massive chance to debut this week with Larkey being out as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Might see him. I might see him
debut,
on Sunday.
Sorry, he played in round 4 against Sydney. Plays second game for the year.
Sure.
My mistake. So yeah, I think he's looking really, really good. He's looking confident at the level, and yeah, in 3 years' time, if we're pushing towards the finals and he's Larky's partner, who knows?
Right.
Well, it's not that
I mean,
bad
you
of a
need
trade.
you
is it?
need that player, right?
We need him way more
than
than what we would have got for pick 3 or 4, which will then be pushed down anyway in the draft. So because remember, West Coast will get pick 2 for Oscar Allen if he lives. It looks like he's going to.
Yeah.
So that's going to be pushed down more. So, I hate how we talked a little bit about this, and you wanted to rev me up about this before we started, but like all the father, sons, and academy stuff, I hate it all. I just wish it was all gone, and just let the teams who need the players get them, and let the teams who have the picks who are already in the finals, they can trade, later in their lives. They don't need them like the teams rotting at the bottom of the ladder, like there are a bunch of them. So, the way I try and look at it really quickly, and I'll let you go here, is like, I look at Victoria. Victorian teams don't really move much on the ladder. So your Collingwoods, your Geelongs and Hawthorns are always at the top. Apart from some random sporadic years over the last 20 years, that's the majority of the time. The Bulldogs are always pushing into the finals or just missing the 8. They're always right on the edge. Scrappy. Your mates. And then it drops down a lot. Then there's a lot of interstate teams. And then it drops down to like the Ds are always average, except for that, 1 or 2 years they really got up there. Then it's been rubbish since then. And before that, it was rubbish.
D's, Saints, North.
The Saints, North, the Bombers, the Blues, even Richmond. Yeah. They had those 7 years of them looking incredible. But other than that, they've been pathetic most of the time. So, and the reason I'm maybe pointing out Victoria more than not is like, if you're an interstate team and someone wants to come home, you're one of 2 clubs that can get that player. But if someone wants to come to Victoria, we're one of 10. We're not getting that player. And even if we get better, we're probably not getting that player anyway. They're always going to go to Collingwood, Geelong, and Hawthorn and Richmond when they're on.
Yeah, so, and the majority of talent does come out of Victoria. So there are a lot of players funneling back into that system, which is fine. But you're right, they're going to the successful clubs, which drops you guys.
So it really doesn't advantage us at all. I'm a bit confused, and I guess this is more of a chat about the league. Like, I'm skeptical that those clubs at the bottom of the ladder will be able to get up the ladder as the league goes on and there's more money in it, and this father, son, and academy thing gets more and more and more prevalent, which it has done. That's just a fact, right? Over the last 5-6 years.
Well, in some areas it has, 100%.
Yeah,
you could say the Gold Coast has exploded. I dare say that there aren't many players coming out of Western Sydney, but you look at the Sydney Academy is about 4 to 5 times the size of ours, right? Brisbane's is similar. Ours is tiny. We don't have there's not a big pathway in Western Sydney, so you go like, yeah, you rip it off those teams, but man, you're really killing the growth of the game in Western Sydney because it's already hard enough.
Yeah, with you like if a player wanted to come back to New South Wales who got drafted down to one of the Vic clubs or wherever, I think you're a massive chance to get him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's true.
If a player like Dan Houston is a good example of this last year, we had the best offer for Dan Houston. And Port accepted less so he could go to Collingwood. So we're going, well, we can't get players in the door to help us even with better offers. So how is the league structuring organic equalisation? West Coast are getting a lot of heat this week because they're going to request a priority pick. And people are going, that's rubbish. Deal with the problems you made. And I disagree with that completely, only because the system doesn't allow teams to draft the best players in the draft and to get the free agents coming back to them. Not for the big teams will always succeed at that, but there's no structure there to organically equalize the competition. I mean, Brisbane's got the two of the last 3 number 1 players in the draft and they won a premiership. So in my club sitting at the bottom of the ladder doing nothing. Collingwood are always a premiership contender apart from a couple of years. And then they got the Dacosses, Darcy Moores, Geelong always get those sort of things. And it's
I disagree with you on the West Coast front. Like they cooked the books. They went hard for another draft, like to pick up top up players. They absolutely, they won a premiership. They absolutely cooked their books. Now they're coming and going, hey, we are the strongest, wealthiest, whether they can spend their money in the soft cap or they can't, because it is supposed to be an equal, you're supposed to be able to spend the same amount of money. The amount of influence and support they have. Like, they won a premiership 7 years ago. Let's not sugarcoat Paul West Coast. They've gone on a losing
I'm not going
streak.
Paul West Coast at all.
This is kind of like, I've been hearing a lot of it lately. I'm from WA, so I completely understand how that town works. But they absolutely should not be. And they can go, we've had the worst run of it. It's like, great, you were shit. You made yourself shit. You can't blame anyone else, Do
you agree with that, though, in our context? Because I'm not necessarily pointing out West Coast exactly. I'm more talking about they're the ones in the media now asking for help when we were the last ones to do that. So when we asked for help, what was your attitude towards that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was more understandable because you won your last in, was it 99 or 99. So, there's an extra 18 years there. You were historically bad. I don't love them, but I also don't love the way that compensation picks work. But the player power.
But the only reason those things are there is because all that other stuff exists. 100%. I don't think there's an organic way for teams to just get better anymore, especially in the last 5 or 6 years. Like I said, North as a club, and I guess this is a North podcast, so let's concentrate on them for a bit. We're not going to get those free agents, even if we jump 5-6 spots on the ladder. Can you name one A-grade free agent that's gone to any club in Victoria? I'm talking an A-grade, like an all-Australian-esque free agent over the 13 years of free agency who's gone to any club in Victoria other than Geelong, Collingwood, Hawthorn or Richmond. Because I can't. And I'm thinking maybe Treloar, but he was on the down when he sort of left. Good job by the Dogs there.
Yeah, they were he went to Collingwood first. Let's not
it went to Collingwood first. Stephen May was a trade from the Gold Coast. I completely understand
where you're coming from. And I think that this is the same rhetoric that I get from my mates who go for St Kilda. They're like, exactly and people will turn to them and they'll be like, you drafted like dog shit. You really
a lot of it's
didn't
down to luck though, isn't it?
You
know what I mean?
Yeah, they did. And look, you could say their culture's not good enough, their development's not good enough, they should spend there. And because those clubs don't have as much money, it's harder to build those things, West Coast. So yeah, I do think there needs to be a switch up if we're going to do this equalisation thing, this model with I didn't understand why. I understand Northern Academies because it's about growth of game, right? You can kind of start to look at Sydney's and go, I don't think they need any help. Sydney don't need help. Everyone plays AFL on the beaches and that area. It's not a huge problem. I mean, look at the players coming out of there. Same with Brisbane. It's getting there with Gold Coast.
I think in Queensland, AFL is the highest growing grassroots sport as well. And
mate, I was up on the Gold Coast recently, and for an extended period of time. And you go down the park, people aren't throwing a rugby ball around. People are doing drills.
For sure.
In the park, 15-meter kick drills. It's alive and well up there. I know that they're not filling out their stadiums or anything like that, but I mean, when they brought back in the other academies, I didn't understand that really. The father-son thing's always going to be a problem because it's a romance element, right? People love the romance in the game. That's why they're going to bring in Tassie, even though it's a political clusterfuck. It's people love romance in sport, and I enjoy it as well. But I do wonder, if you take one out, you got to take the other one out.
Yeah, that 100%. I mean, I'm trying to look at the way, how does a club like North Melbourne get up the ladder? So it's not free agency because we're always at the bottom of that pack. Drafting, we get a lot of picks, but
that's how. Drafting is the only way. That's the only way the Giants can do it as well, right?
But then you got to make sure you keep them. So you've got to train them up. You've got to hope that they develop how you want. You've got to hope that you re-sign and then they don't go to Collingwood, or that you don't re-sign them on a 9-year deal and 3 years into it they want out, and then they go to Collingwood, Geelong or Hawthorn anyway. So that's the hard thing as well. well. Like, you
Mate,
know,
you're preaching to the converted when it, like with that sort of stuff. That's been think about, you could make a whole team, the best 22 that would probably make finals of ex-Giants players at the moment. So
well, 100%. But then, how many years does it take to, if you're just going off drafting, how many years of draft picks will it take to make a team, a finals-esque team with depth, with star players in all positions? It'll take 5, 6, 7 years of drafting. So this is what I'm saying. If you can't get a combination of it.
Yeah, about 6.
Well, yeah, I mean, hopefully more for us. But it's like, I don't know. I just don't see a way that it can organically happen without compensation and without getting rid of the father-son. I'm not saying get rid of it. I mean more like every team who doesn't, in my opinion, every team that doesn't finish in the finals should get their first pick, and then father-son comes into play. So that stops top 10 picks going to premiership contenders. The ones that need help will get the players that they want, and then father-son's in play. And if there's a top 10 pick there that could go to Collingwood or Geelong, then we can have them for 3 years. If they want to go back, they can. But then you got to trade, and then we actually get something back for them if we trade and go back to their, the club they want to go to. Or like every other sport in the world, they go, oh, North's pretty fun. North's pretty good. We're looking all right. Let's just stay here and build my own name. So at least it's one alternative or the other there, instead of just saying to us, oh, just pick the next guy. It's fine. And then when you do that 11 times in the draft, it's like when we got that assistance package, we got a late first round pick. It wasn't picked into a mid-second round or late second round.
That's right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because of all the father-sons.
And then the other one you had to trade or something as well.
We had to trade the other ones. And then that puts us in a bad position because we have to trade them. There's no leverage.
Absolutely none.
And you really think that's help? You know what I mean? So anyway, look, it's an interesting discussion because I don't think a lot of people understand it from like a North or St Kilda's side of view, but it's also, from your side of view, it's interesting to hear your thoughts on it too, because I'm very skeptical that, especially moving forward, teams like St Kilda, like North, like Richmond now, I think they're going to get stuck. And I think there's too much money in the game to let this stuff happen and organically equalize. Look, if I'm wrong, fantastic.
No, you might be wrong. I think
I'm maybe not saying it's not going to happen, but I think it's harder than it's ever been to get back up the ladder, because free agency makes the gap wider when it comes to opportunity to gain players. Because if just trading was back, we would have stacks of capital. But now we don't, because the players can just nominate a club and complain, and Port has to take less for a player of Houston's quality. I just don't see the way that we do it, mate. And look, it's on us to create a good culture. It's on us to get those picks to move up to 10th on the ladder, and then we get those players, I guess. But I think it used to be a little bit more simple, and the teams that were at the bottom had a bit more capital to trade, instead of just the players can pick where they go.
Yeah, the nomination, I think, is a huge problem with the way like player trading works. And having done the podcast that I do, I sort of run Brandon through all of the history. We went back and did all the shin boner stuff, and the history of North Melbourne. This week, actually, it'll come out tomorrow, which will be Wednesday. We did the history of Glenn Archer because we're playing against you guys. So it's like we go back, we go through all the nicknames and all the whole idea of, and so I teach him who he is. He has no idea who Glenn Archer is.
I love Glenn. He's my favorite player ever.
Yeah, right. So it's kind of like, I kind of think of that and then I go, how good would Jasper Archer been if he was at, Dacos and then he goes somewhere else? How devastating would that have been? So I can understand the romance element, but it's a fascinating, like, I'm obsessed with the draft. I'm a draft nuffy because I have to be, right? Yeah. Because the Giants don't get players any other way. In fact, we lose all these guys, Perryman leaving for $900,000 a year. Perryman,
But would he have left if Collingwood wasn't an option?
Cumming and Peatling. No, but those you've got all these kind of big clubs, Adelaide clubs coming after Peatling and Cumming. Peatling is from like Seven Hills. He's a Western Sydney product, and we lost him because we don't have the cash, right? So you do kind of go like, I don't know, how you fix equalisation apart from just cut all of it. But then I also understand that, like, if you cut all Northern academies and any access to, say, for the Giants' point of view, any access to Western Sydney talent, then there'll be no development in Western Sydney. There just won't be. No one will play the game. That's how bad it is. The Swans territory, they will, and people will play it, and maybe we'll just pick those guys for the rest of our existence. But the game won't grow. right, in our area.
And
So
I can see how it's crucial for those areas too, because it's such a NRL heavy area. Obviously, they need to make
if
sure
you're
it
an
grows.
athlete in Western Sydney, you are like the amount of sports like NRL, basketball, soccer, like you're picking almost anything first.
Yeah, I maybe the thing I'd say to that though is like I don't see a problem with academies, yes, but then you've got to obviously make the price higher for those players
Yeah.
if they are up,
I think
if they
that's
are a
fair.
top 10 pick. Gold Coast trading out pick 6 for like a Dan Rioli who's not worth that at all. I know maybe to them, and he's a good player, Dan Rioli, but like pick 6 is crazy. So, it's just a system that needs to be adjusted, but it seems to be advantaging a lot of those like big clubs a lot of the time. So I don't know if they're going to change it if it's doing that.
I think it is just the system, isn't it? It's just like the rich get richer in everything in
but
life.
that's every sport in the world. Like
yeah,
the NBA
100%.
did the lockout in 2011 and the players demanded more power. And then now they've just had to redo all the CBA to make sure that the players don't have that power in the same ways, because it made all these super teams happen and it made the league really boring for a decade.
Yeah.
And then they've just had to change it all and make this second apron rule so those super teams don't happen.
Because guess what? People want to, individuals want to win.
They want to win. But then, like the league has no interest in North Melbourne winning a premiership. Like my club's nearly been relocated twice in my lifetime.
Yeah.
So and the AFL has voted for that. So, it's clear that, they don't have an interest in making us win anything. They've got an interest in making us not a joke. But other than that, there's not really any sort of financial investment there for us to be able to do it. And if people don't think finances can sway the game a little bit, you're a little bit blind,
you're dreaming.
I think.
You're dreaming.
You know what I mean? Like, the game's run by a lawyer, mate. He's sitting back with his buckets of cash going, sick. Collingwood's up there. Geelong look great. If there's a Brisbane-Adelaide grand final, he'll bawl his eyes out because that's just not what they want, right? But look, it's difficult. I think there's ways to fix it, but I'm not sure the league cares to fix it because it doesn't. It's only hurting St Kilda, North, and the Demons or the Bombers, like some of those clubs that are always at the bottom of the ladder. And as long as those big clubs at the top are firing, which they are, I don't think they care very much. And why would they? If the ratings are up because everyone's watching the Pies every week, if the money's rolling in, I don't know why they would care that those clubs get better, to be honest. But if the system stays the way it is, I think it's very hard for those clubs. Do you think
it's that much of a like say, because I look at Victorian clubs and I go, well, as soon as they're up and about and as soon as they're making finals, they're going to pack out every stadium anyway. Like,
not for us. We've never done that, mate. We have the lowest membership base in, the Saints, North.
But even
the
in the
D's,
mid-90s and late 90s, like what were the crowds like then? Like I don't honestly.
Well, I wasn't really there, to be honest.
Yeah.
I didn't start watching footy to the mid-2000s. But yeah, like, the difference then is people lived in their areas, right? So you don't live in North Melbourne anymore. Families don't live in North Melbourne. They don't live in Carlton. They don't live in Richmond. You can't. It's unaffordable. Yeah. Everyone's moving out to the suburbs an hour away from those places because that's what you can afford. So kids aren't growing up in North Melbourne to be like, I support North. They're just going to pick the Pies every week because they're going to win every week. Everyone supports Collingwood here. There's like Collingwood, and then there's like everybody else that people support in this state.
I have noticed that.
So it's like it's just a snowball effect of more people getting on the same big clubs. I can guarantee if North or the Saints are up and about, they're not going to be. Yeah, there'll be a lot of people on board. Maybe just the neutrals will go then because it's a big game, but. I don't think North's membership's going to skyrocket when that happens. I think it's too ingrained that everyone supports one of 4 big clubs in Victoria, and then the rest just get what they get.
What is North's membership?
55,000, I think.
Yeah.
But there's a few caveats to those. I mean, Richmond has a pet membership, which they do, so that bumps the membership numbers up. North put a $9 membership for 3-game membership out this year, which lots of people bought, My partner bought a couple of them so she could come to games, and it's super cheap. So that's going to inflate numbers. That's 2 people right there, and it's just one person who's not going to be a member. You know what I mean? So these numbers are rubbish anyway.
And their dog.
Yeah, and their dog, and the cat came along too, snuck the cat in.
Not?
So
why not?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think there's a hierarchy in Victoria of 4 powerhouses. Carlton, Essendon, they're not in that anymore. I don't care what history suggests. It's not how it's been for the last 20 years. It's Collingwood, Geelong, Hawthorn, and when Richmond are up, they're massive. And other than that, I don't see it.
I'm fascinated by this. I mean, being out of the Victorian bubble, I don't get because my thought is like, oh, Carlton seem huge. Every time I turn on the radio, it's Carlton. Like, yes, they've been.
Yeah, but it's Carlton being upset because they suck. And it's
Maybe
always
that's-
them.
maybe
It's
that's what it
always
is.
them on the radio because if you talk about Carlton, they've got lots of fans, but the club's pathetic. So all the radio and the TV does nowadays is go, oh, Carlton really suck. Here's the lines open. Call in if you want to say something. And then
It's good stuff, to be fair.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
I enjoy
but
it
like
thoroughly.
thousands of Carlton fans will ring up and just complain, and then people watch, right? Same with Essendon. They're the same. They've done nothing for 20 years, mate. You know, like we've played so many more finals than them and it's been so much more successful over the last 20 years. But they're a big club because they've got some more fans.
Yeah.
Well, the fans don't turn up and the fans are over it. They're the most depressed fan base I've ever seen. So
It's pretty bad.
it's when you're bottom, like Victoria is the place, I get that. But when you're at the bottom of that, you're more irrelevant than anyone interstate will be because you know, you're just at the bottom of the ladder in the core part, which no one knows North Melbourne exists, mate. You know how many people go, oh, I don't know a North fan in this around. There's 6 million people in Melbourne and there's 10 clubs to pick from. You know, there's just not enough people to go around. I would love, I mean, I know this would never happen, but imagine if we could move the teams to where people live now. I know maybe you don't know areas in Victoria, but have a Gippsland team, have a team in the East. There's no team that really represents the East.
No, there isn't.
Have a Peninsula team, you know, for Mornington. There's heaps of people moving down there.
That's good.
You know, but then space them out and make people represent their areas more instead of just a 10-kilometre bubble of every single team, and the person who grows up half an hour away, they've got no indictment to that one area. They just pick the most successful at the time, basically. You can't, in 2017, 18, you couldn't find anyone under 15 who didn't follow Richmond. You know what I mean? Like, it was just outrageous. But my high school years growing up, you couldn't find a Richmond fan because they were rubbish. And then all of a sudden it goes bang. But they had that fan base sitting there, and it might be the same for the Bombers maybe, but I don't see how they get back up there with all the structure in place. And North's always been smaller. Even in the 90s when we were winning, you know, we weren't the biggest club. We just made it work. But then there was like regional sections that we could have players from. There wasn't a draft a lot of that time as well.
Yeah, that's right.
And before that, so there was
feel
so
like
much
there's
more
a lot of
circumstance.
generation. Like there's a lot of generational fans that will come out of the woodwork whenever you have sustained success.
Potentially,
for
but
all
then
of
I
those
look back
clubs.
to like the when we made the prelims in 14 and 15, and there was bigger crowds, but we weren't packing out stadiums, mate. We made 2 prelims in a row. We played finals 3 or 4 years in a row, I think, and 2 prelims in there. That it doesn't get much better except for one step closer to a granny. And we still weren't doing that, mate, because everyone's a Collingwood fan. Everyone's, you know, a Carlton fan. It's just not like that. You don't get those extra fans. No one's growing up supporting North unless your father bullies you into it. You know what I mean? So it's and then you know, there's also your parents will be like, you're a North fan, then the kid will go to a couple games and be like, well, my mates support the Hawks and they're way better, so I'm just going to go support them. Because I don't think people are as passionate about that the areas and stuff as they used to be.
100%. Yeah.
So it sort of is what it is. But look, this has been a great discussion about the whole league. No, I'm into it. It's probably more entertaining than listening to us talk about this game. That's probably going to be a absolute
You never know.
bashing.
You never know. I do find it really fascinating. Like a lot of my mates are Saints fans, are Dockers fans, and they just the Saints fans will absolutely go on this rip about like it is a completely unfair system.
Yeah, but it's
like,
not from nowhere. You know what I mean?
Look at how many of the players that they tried to recruit this year. You know, throwing $1.7 million that Finn Callahan can't get him. They tried to get Josh Kelly. You guys tried to get Josh Kelly. You know, like it's all of these things. You go like, well, it's just.
But that's another way of not being able to be organically equalised. Where is it funny watching the Saints offer $1.7 million to everyone and they all say no? A little bit. It's a bit funny. But realistically, when you look at it from a serious side, that's really bad for the league. Because I can guarantee you, if Collingwood went and offered De Koning $1 million right now, he signs today. But the Saints have to offer that much money to even get someone to think about going to their club. And then they'll get that player, maybe lose Marshall, which isn't worth it at all. No. And then their books are screwed because they've got one player taking up $1.7 million. So you can't get enough players through your salary cap to make a deep premiership winning club.
It's a huge tax. I mean, like I don't even really look at free agents except the ones leaving my club. So you kind of, you know, I don't go like, what's the last big free agent that came to to the Giants. It's like, it's no one. It's like Deledio at the end of his career, like, played half a game or something. And you just got to go like, yeah, that's about it. Everyone else is sort of at the end of their, at the end of their line. And so I can totally see, like it's not beyond me to go like, once we sort of start running out of this group or this next group or we don't trade them, we don't get lucky with our drafting or we don't, develop as well, we'll be in exactly the same spot. We can't bring people in. We won't have as much of a strong draft hand for as long. So I can totally see it, see it from that point of view and just kind of go like, well, yeah, what do you do apart from try and get homegrown talent and bring them home like the Eagles, the Dockers, the Crows, and
but then
Port.
even
No wonder they're
Eagles,
going so hard for Nazaya Wanganeen,
for sure. But then you've got to push the boat out for that as well, and you've got to do so much to get them there that it might, it might affect you later down the line. Even Carlton with all the players they got, like giving Mackay that contract. What's the bloke off halfback?
Williams?
No, not Williams. The guy with the beard, Sard.
Yeah,
like offered him a buttload of money, and he's a good player, but he's not incredible. Offering a lot of money for these players just to stay there and to get them and to keep them. And then now look at them. They've played their top line so much, their depth isn't there. So you need to balance it. You can't just go get stars. You can't just fill it out and not have any stars. It's really, really hard. And, clubs like the big ones can offer less and get people in, which might mean they get an extra couple of players who are depth players for them, who, if they get injuries to the middle of the year, can come in. And it is, though, when you get to the top level of any sport, it's those fine margins that make the difference. And I don't think
I guess the dream is for North, right? Like if we're going to do our like kind of dream scenario, right? Like let's get into it. It's kind of build like you've seen Gold Coast do over 10 years. We did it relatively quickly, but you have a dearth, like an absolute, not dearth. You have so much talent, right? So much top end talent. You can kind of pick and choose which guys you really need to keep. Right? Like you've got so many midfielders there, right? That you go, well, okay, not that guy. Or we're going to lose, McKercher or whoever it is, right? You decide you want to.
My favorite player, Cobb McKercher.
Sorry. But you just like, you scooch a few off. You try and get high draft return on those guys. And you kind of go like, this is who we think. We kind of, had to get rid of Shield, Treloar, Taranto, Hop. Like but you go like, those guys are surplus. They're not the ones. You got to isolate the ones and then you build from there. You get to a point where you're like close to finals. You get up to that point. And then I guess that's the point where you can start to sell, hey, come play, come role players, come play.
Yeah.
We'll finish
But the magic sauce there is one, having a consistent coach over that time to make that plan come together. And two, when you get rid of some of those players, you usually get compensated with draft capital, which means you're starting again with another player and it almost just rolls over and over and over. It's a never ending, we get another young player and another young player.
Well, not necessarily, right? Like if you're sending out a player that you've gotten at the top end of the draft and you pick up 2 draft picks, like you can then on trade that to bring in those role players that might not be stars
for sure,
but you can play around there and try and figure it out. But I see what you mean. Like we've been doing it. That's what we do. We just draft. We just draft.
This is why I'm not as upset as a lot of other North fans about how long it's taking, because I can see that it's going to take a long time because, like we pointed out before, you need 6-7 years of drafting and make sure they're all pretty good to make a team that's going to be competitive enough when you're at the bottom of the ladder, especially in Victoria, I feel. But like you're saying with the Giants is completely fair enough as well. Is like when you're one of those clubs that isn't a destination club, that's the only way you can do it. And you've got to hope they all become guns. And you've got to hope they all sign, and then you've got to hope they all sign for relatively acceptable fees so you can sign them all. And then you've got to hope after that you give them a 9-year deal they don't want out after a couple of years and whinge the way out.
But they won't all be good. Like, I
know they won't, but that's why it takes so long, right?
That's why I think that when you're saying about the Tigers is interesting of going like, they might be terrible. It's like, well, actually they've kind of changed the way that they like that teams draft, right? Yeah. Like going into that super draft or whatever draft it was last year, 9 picks in the top 20, not 3 or whatever it was, right? Yeah. It was ridiculous. But they basically went like, well, that's a way to get up quickly. They know that 9 of those guys aren't going to be superstars. They know that they're going to pick, like there'll be 4 or 5 of them that, 3 of them will be superstars. and a couple more will be good role players and blah, blah, blah. But it gives them a core group. They can build together. It's going to take time, but they can sell it, right? They have a good game plan, good coach, and they can sell it. I'm looking at them going like, oh my God, like that's the blueprint, right? Sell everything, sell shop and do that. But you got to get lucky. You got to get lucky.
You do have to get lucky. The other thing is past regimes at North have given us no real leadership like the Tigers have. Like a majority of their defense is premiership players still. And they've got a lot of players on that team that will show them how to play. That's why we had to go recruit Daniel Darling Parker, because our captain Simpkins never played a final. Larky's never played a final. Zerha, none of them. LDU never been close. So we're drafting all these young guys with players who have been around the traps for 100-odd games who haven't tasted success. And a lot of that comes from how poorly we drafted when Brad Scott and Cameron Joyce were there, which a lot of there's a famous 2016 draft where Cameron Joyce said, we've just drafted the spine of our future. And it was Sam Durden, Ed Vickers-Willis, and Daniel Nielsen. And they all played like a season or two and then it's gone because they were bad. Or Ed Vickers-Willis actually got a Rising Star nomination, but he got injured, did his knee twice, never played again. And they're like 32 years old right now. You know what I mean? Like early 30s, like the Tigers have, should have been those players to get Colby McKercher and Finn O'Sullivan and Charlie Comben and all these guys some experience and show them how to win. And we don't have that. And this is why it's taken so many things have to go right, mate.
It shows you how important drafting is. Like you look at St Kilda's run. And I think,
but drafting through generation as well, because the last generation of Brad Scott drafting is affecting our draft pool now. And that's why we had to use extra draft picks to get Darling and to get Parker and to get Daniel and that sort of stuff. Because if we just draft a bunch of kids and they don't have that strong leadership and that premiership players around them, they're not going to develop like the Tigers ones will. So we go out and get them to help these guys develop, and then people complain we use the draft picks on them. We need more young players, which isn't going to work. So
no, I thought that was a good move. I liked it.
I loved it.
And how do you feel like, so this is the question.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you have drafted in the last 3 years?
I think we've been pretty good, to be honest. I think there's a lot of players. I mean, Shizu you can't question. McKercher you can't question. They're superstars. Wardlaw, he got a couple of head knocks, but he looked great in the weekend. He'll be fine. There's a lot of younger guys in the team as well. Like Riley Hardiman is a first team player this year. He's been fantastic. Will Dawson broke into the team as a 200-centimetre key defender. Whitlock is hopefully going to play this week. I think we've done really, really well. I think people just underestimate how long it takes to make them the players we want them to be. And all those players, by the way, I've named, and there's Taylor Goad, there's so many more I could name that are still coming through. They've all been drafted since Clarkson's been here, which has really been 2 or 3 years. And those, you're not going to get superstars and players that are good enough to get you near the finals after that amount of time, especially this day and age. The last few premiership teams, Geelong, old, they're all winning in their 30s. Collingwood, old, they're all winning in their 30s. Brisbane, old, they're all winning in their 30s. Apart from a couple of guys, their core is like 30-year-olds, right? So this is how you win football games now, and we're just not going to be that team this early, and that's why I love what we're doing, but it's still going to be 2-3 years until we're a problem. Minimum.
I agree.
I
think you can look at, you always have to kind of look at the top level of sports as far as like the NBA, NFL, and you look at how long NBA athletes are staying in their prime now, and like being able to compete at that level with a physically demanding sport. I mean, they don't have as hard a hits, but they play 80-something games
it's ridiculous,
a season.
Yeah.
It's
100 play if you're in the playoffs as well.
I would say it's probably exactly right. So I'd say it's probably like pretty equivalent as far as the end of the year and the types of injuries that people get. And so, like when people worry about, we're going to give him a 7-year contract, but he's 25. I'm like, that's fine. Don't worry about that. 32 is going to get younger and younger as it goes on. Guys aren't going to get to 30 and they're over the hill. They still have a bit of time. So I agree. I'm kind of hoping that these guys are the guys. And it must be so frustrating being a North fan watching all the media, because like even for us this year, we put so many games over the last 2 years into Cadman.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, shit is a fucking waste of a pick, blah, blah, blah. They've stuffed it. And you go like, as soon as he hit game 49, people were like, oh my God, this guy's come out of nowhere.
Shock. A guy plays 50 games and then all of a sudden he gets a bit better. Yeah, but that's the thing, right?
And a key forward, you go like, he's had 3 years of, development.
Well, this is what I mean is like, Sheasel's 20. He's 20. Has he played 50 yet? I think he got over 50 games this year, potentially. I don't know. He's around the 50 game mark. Like all these other guys, we had 5 draft picks in the first round a couple of years ago, like almost like Richmond did, not quite as many, but we drafted like Will Dawson, Taylor Goad, Riley Hardiman, and then I think that was McKercher and Dersmo, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
there,
right.
all in the same draft, and no one could even name those 3 guys at the start I just told you.
Yeah.
Because they don't look and no one cares about us. We're such a spot in the ocean in Victoria here. So everyone just thinks, we don't have these guys coming through. Right, like Will Dawson's played under 10 games, and he locked up Sam Darcy and did a fantastic job on him when we played. Riley Hardiman hasn't even played 20 games yet.
Which is no mean feat, by the way, because Taylor got absolutely dominated by him.
100%. He did a fantastic, it was unbelievable performance from him. And he's 200 centimetres. He's 19. We drafted him when he was 16.
Size, 200 centimetres.
200 centimetres, put on 15 kegs over the offseason, looks like a proper unit now. Give him a couple of years at full back for us and then talk. You know what I mean? Like
Totally.
it's going to take longer, and it doesn't mean we won't get there. The example I try and use is, does any Tigers fan think about Brett Deledio? Hell no. They think about Dustin Martin, Trent Cotchin. They don't care that they were bad for 30 years. No. They had their era, and now they're sweet. If we win a flag in the 2030s, if Matt Whitlock is a 200-centimetre beast kicking 70 a year, and Will Dawson is locking down the best key forward every single week, and we win a premiership in 2032, I'm not going to care we were bad for 10 years through the 2020s, because it's about moments. For clubs like us, it's about that moment and that time. Collingwood, they'll win a flag. We're like, cool, well, let's win one next year and the year after. But for us, it's different. If I see one flag in my life, I will hold that for the rest of my existence. You know what I mean?
I guess that's the difference when it comes back to sort of you guys asking for the pick and West Coast asking for the pick. West Coast asking for the picks kind of feels like Collingwood doing it. Like I know they've been bad for a few years, but you know what? Like they've won one every 6 years or something. Like let's not kind of
for sure. And I do agree with that. I was more, obviously, like I said before, more using that in like the context of a bad team getting help more and less than West Coast actually getting it because they are more successful.
No, they can't have.
yeah. Give it back to us.
Them. Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, look, we might finish it up. I'm gonna get, just because it's gonna go too long for everyone, even though I could genuinely talk about this for the next hour with you. So look, maybe we'll exchange pleasantries another time. But okay, 2 questions here. 1, give me a score prediction for the weekend and who's going to win this game.
Oh, I'll take the Giants in Canberra, and I'll take us by 52.
Okay. I'll go the Giants too, because I'm not that biased of a fan. Yeah, I think it could be a bit. It could be 10 goals potentially. I'll go. Yeah, I might match you. I might go around the 50 mark. I think that is probably fair. I don't know how we're going to score without Larky and Curtis there.
That's the big one for me.
Unless Matt Whitlock kicks 6 in his Ford debut for North Melbourne, my guy. But who knows? Yeah, we'll see. Was Jerry's back? I mean, that's a big one for us.
That's the big matchup that I'm worried about,
which is good. So hopefully that's all good. But I don't really care about this game, mate. I'm going down to Tassie next week to watch us play Richmond down there, and that's the game we need to win. So get through this game unscathed and go down, get Larky back, and make sure you win that game that I'm traveling down for. My last question for you before we finish up: can you name all the players that have played between North Melbourne and GWS?
The players that have played for both clubs?
For both clubs. I can only name 2 off the top of my head. I don't think there's any more.
Aiden Corr's one.
There you go.
Have we got anyone from North? No.
No, it's the other way around. So someone came from you guys to us. I've got one more name for you.
I will get this. Oh, I know who it is. It's fucking what is his name?
Come on.
Yes. He Aiden Bonner.
I forgot about that one. Yes, I've got one more for you.
Oh, okay.
I forgot about Aiden Bonner.
Position?
Midfielder.
Fuck. Oh, we don't often lose guys, do you?
He was a very high pick in the draft that was injury riddled, and he came to us to try and revitalise his career, but didn't work out. And we got delisted after a year or 2 with us.
Jeez, that's going to stretch me. I thought Aiden Bonner was it.
What a fake fan. Fake Giants fan, mate. What's going on? This would have been one of your favourite players. To be fair, this is a deep cut. I'll be impressed if you get this.
What year was this? It wasn't Kurt. No.
No. I kind of want to give it to you just so the listeners can not hear this ear garbage. What are the clues?
You can just cut this. You can just cut this.
Was it before COVID or was it during COVID? I think he played for us during like the 2021 season, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, no.
So he would have been on your list for your like grand final appearance and that sort of stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Do you want the name?
Yeah, give it to me.
Paul Ahern.
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, who cares?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I was actually excited when he came over, and it was as underwhelming as most of our free agency acquisitions have been.
Yeah,
so.
I think Aidan Bonner was better.
Yeah, you know what? Aidan Bonner was probably better. Yeah, God, I've got some stories about Aidan Bonner. Anyway, I will chat to you very, very soon, mate. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for the discussion about the league. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed a little bit of a longer preview that has nothing to do with the game. But you can blame Alex for that, guys. So send some shade his way.
About football.
Yeah, and you know what? We know what's going to happen in this game. I think that was a more interesting discussion anyway. So look, let me know what you thought of the chat down below. If anyone's on YouTube, please subscribe. That helps me so much. And comment your thoughts on our discussion down below. Am I completely ridiculous with my draft opinions? Is Alex the guru when it comes to draft, the greatest mind of the draft in the 21st century? It's probably that.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for coming on, mate. We'll chat to you soon.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.